Okay, so we're going to do a 60-minute slow flow. There'll be some vinyasa movement, meaning that we'll connect breath with movement. It'll be slower though, where we're doing about 1 to 2 breaths per movement or pose. In addition, you'll want to have something that you can use as a prop that would be like a block. If you don't have access to a block, this could be a firm pillow. It could be a large book. You could have a chair, so you can use the seat of a chair for some of the balance poses as a support. And then have an extra rolled up towel or blanket or yoga mat, or if you have a yoga bolster, that will work as well. And we're going to start today in a seated position, anything that is comfortable for you. So that includes if you want to start seated on a chair, that's an option as well. And if you would like to be on the floor, but when you sit on the floor, you notice that there's some rounding to the back because it's difficult for the legs and hips to be down on the ground and for the back to extend. If that's the case, then you can use a block or a small prop to put underneath the sits bones, raise the seat off the ground just a couple inches, and you'll notice that can help to create enough space so the spine can lengthen. So taking your time, adjusting what you need to in order to feel like you can hold that shape for a few minutes in a calm, restful state. Taking a couple minutes to lock the shoulders or adjust the neck, maybe shape up the hands and some emotional energy. And if it's comfortable for you in your space, you can close your eyes, which will help to eliminate distractions that keep pulling at the mind. Or if not, go ahead and rest your eyes down on the ground in front of you. And gradually, slowly start to bring stillness to the body. Gradually start to focus your mind and bring stillness to the mind by concentrating on one thing, on one point. Generally, the breath is an access point that is available at all times, if that resonates with you. Let the mind stay focused on this inhale, going into the body through the nose. This exhale, leaving the body through the nose. If the nose isn't available to you, nose breathing is limited for whatever reason, adjust as you need to. Another option for a focal point today as we continue with our series that is focused on the theme of gratitude is to think of anything that you are grateful for because it offers you a sensation of contentment. One of the niyams in the yoga practice is called Santosha. Practice of realizing, identifying, and connecting with those spaces, times where we feel content. Even in the midst of spaces and times where we can readily identify with content, recognizing that there is still something, some spaces you can draw from. Start to feel the sensations of contentment when you think of that place, that time, that situation, that person. When you engage with it or them, feel content. Maybe even starting to list all of reasons why that offers you contentment, and notice how that builds into a sense of gratefulness that you have access to that place, that person, or that situation that gives you contentment. Sometimes that's even recognizing and feeling our breath. Taking a lengthened inhale followed by an open mouth sigh can bring a sensation of release and contentment to the physical body. And know that that is available to you at any point as we any of the shapes that you take a lengthened inhale, maybe turn it into a sigh or a yawn, and notice that sensation of release through the physical body. Just a little extra space for contentment and then gratitude for your breath. I'm going to lengthen the breath now. Turn it into a Durga pranayam, which is the three-part breath. So inhaling through the nose, drawing it past the throat into the lungs, and letting the belly soften as you fill the lungs to the very depths. And then the chest, expanding the side ribs. And then sip in a little bit more to lift the collarbones. And on the exhale, you reverse it. Collarbones deflate. Side ribs knit back together. And the belly deflates. Do that again. Inhaling, slowly sipping it in, filling from the belly to the mid-chest, to the collarbones. Exhaling slowly, collarbones, to the chest, to the belly. Continue with that. Add one more piece to this. If you want to stay with what you are already doing, you're more than welcome to do so. Or we're going to add just a brief retention at the top of the inhale. So inhaling, filling belly, ribs, top of the chest, and then hold either for a half a second or maybe up to 2 or 3 seconds or whatever count is good for you. And then gently release all the way from collarbones down to the belly button. Doing that again. Inhale, hold. Exhale to release and flow right into the next inhale. Exhale and release. We're going to add one more option. This is just an option to take an inhale, fill from the belly, the mid ribs, all the way up to the collarbones, and then hold. And if you like, lower the chin, pull the chin up and in towards the chest. This is called Jalabandha Bandha. And then release on an inhale. And exhale to release all of air. Doing that again, inhaling, filling from the belly, all the way up to the top of the chest. Hold, and with that retention, if you like, bring in the bandha. Exhale and release. Bandhas are a good source of helping to modulate our prana, or our life energy. If you'd like to try it again, we're going to do 2 more rounds at your pace. You choose if you want breath retention or not. If you're using breath retention, then you choose if you want to add the bandha or not. Bandha is only used if you are retaining the breath at the top of the inhale. 1 more round if you choose. And only holding to your capacity so that you can gently release and flow into that natural lengthened inhale, filling belly, ribs, collarbone, into the exhale. So releasing the retention now and just breathing deep. Come back to this breath over and over and over. I'll remind you to breathe in. This Durga pranayam with lengthened breath throughout the class. For right now, gently and slowly blink the eyes open if they've been closed. We're going to release the left leg. If you're seated on a chair, you can do this by swinging the left leg back to the left side of the chair. Or if you're on the floor, we're going to come into what is sometimes called mermaid or fallen deer. So the left toes are pointing back behind you with the knee bent. If this is too much flexion on the knee, you're welcome to just extend that left leg out front. And then from here, we'll inhale, lift the arms up to the ceiling. Exhale the left hand down outside the left ankle, and then side bend over to the left, reaching that right arm up and over, and then maybe letting the hand and arm kind of rainbow over the right ear. Hold and breathe, this time imagining that breath moving along the side ribs, opening up all of the intercostal muscles, softening them as you breathe. 1 more inhale here. Exhale to lower that right hand. We're going to bring the left hand over to the right knee. Take an inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, just gently turn chin towards the right shoulder. Gentle twist to start. Exhale to release that. And then, keeping the chest oriented towards the right knee, start to walk yourself forward as much as is comfortable for you over that right knee. Now that might mean bringing the elbows down to the floor. That might mean hands just resting in front of the knee. If you have your props and you want to rest on the props, that's an option. And then notice where you feel sensation. Working towards starting to open up the hips and the low back and the sacral area just a bit here. On your next natural inhale, we're going to start to walk our fingers, walk our hands and our chest more towards the front and center of our mat. And again, only coming as deep as is appropriate for the sensation in your body. That for some folks might mean bringing the head all the way down. For other folks, that might mean staying up on your palms. The only purpose is to find that space that helps you to feel some opening in the soft tissues without injury or pain. Next inhale, we'll work our way all the way up to seated. Your exhale brings your hands back behind your seat, fingertips pointing towards your hips. Pull the elbows together behind you, pull the shoulder blades together, and then baby back bend by lifting the sternum up towards the ceiling. If you need or want a little bit more, and it's appropriate in your body, you can inhale, float the hips up by pressing in to the front shin and lifting the sternum to the ceiling. And then your exhale releases, and you come back to center and flip the legs. Again, even if your left knee was bent and that was comfortable for you, that doesn't necessarily mean that the right leg will feel the same. So if it's better for you to keep the right leg extended, that's where you will go. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, right hand comes outside the right leg. Lift up and out of the left hip. Side bend over to the right and breathe here. Inhale to lift up. Exhale, we're going to bring right hand to the left knee and left hand to the left hip as you gently bring that chin towards the left shoulder. Exhale to release that. Frame that left knee with both hands and then start to move yourself into the appropriate distance down on this side. Notice where you feel the sensation. And then inhale, slowly walking yourself more to the front. Same thing here. Exhale to release. Inhale, flip the head, use the hands, walk yourself up and back. Bring the hands around behind you, fingertips pointing towards your seat. Press into your palms, bring the shoulder blades to touch behind you, and either lifting the sternum or pressing into the palms and the shins to lift the hips into a back bend. And then exhale, face it down. This time we're going to just either swing the legs around whichever way makes sense for you or roll over them to come up to all fours. Hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Taking an inhale, we're going to start to circle the shoulders, side, front, side, and back. We're just going to do this 2, maybe 3 cycles. As you do, notice the sensation of the pressure around the wrist at the base of the knuckle at the base of each finger. And then reverse the direction. So you're bringing the pressure in the hand and in the palm and in the wrist in that circular motion. And at the same time, starting to warm up the hips and shoulders. Then we'll pause, hold it there, turning the palms so that the fingertips point to the edges of the mat. And this time, just side to side. Notice again, sensation in the base knuckles of the fingers, in the palms, in the wrists, always stopping or not doing it at all if the sensation is not appropriate in your body. And then back to center. One more flip. This may not be appropriate for all bodies, so if flipping your fingers all the way around to point to your knees is not appropriate, you're going to bring them maybe angled or stay out to the side, or if you're done with all of that, bring the hands back to point to the front. Otherwise, if you have the hands with the fingers pointing towards the knees, have the toes tucked into the mat and start to move your seat towards your heels. So you're lengthening the distance between the elbow and the wrist, between the shoulder and the wrist. And then if you'd like, you can start to walk the fingers back towards the knees. Land your seat on your heels, and then push the ground away with your palms. So you're creating a little bit of a rounded cat back, opening up the bottoms of the feet, and at the same time, getting a wrist and forearm open. And then inhale, bring that all back to center. This time, you're going to release the right leg. Cross the right foot over the left leg. Ball mound of the foot down and the heel pressing around behind you. And then weight into the left hand. Now you can hang out right here with the left hand in the center and the right hand still down. Or release the right hand, bring it off the right edge of the mat. So you're kind of making this lengthened X shape with the right limbs. And then look over the left shoulder towards the right heel. So feeling an opening all along the right side of the body. And then exhale, bring all that back to center. Land the right knee down. Cross the left foot over, repeating on this side. So this time the left heel is pressing to the wall behind you. Right hand is in the center of the mat. You can hang out here, or you can bring that left hand off the mat. And then press the heel away, push the left hand away, and open up along the left side of the body. Facing over the right shoulder for one more breath. And then exhale, pull it all back to center. Going to tuck the toes into the mat. Take an inhale to prepare. As you exhale, float the hips up, keeping a significant bend in the knee as you do so. Keeping the knees bent allows you to gain more agency over the pelvis, so you can really encourage those sits bones up towards the ceiling. Gently encouraging the belly button towards the spine, and then any kind of movement shifting the hips side to side, or maybe alternating the heels as you pedal them down. Then eventually, maybe both heels start to reach towards the ground behind you. Coming into Ardha Mukha Shavasana, downward facing dog. If your heels end up being a good 4 or 5 inches off the ground, notice what happens if you take a half a step or a full step forward towards your wrists. And then if that maybe gives you a little bit more space to drop the heels a little closer to the ground, and that will also take some pressure off the wrists. One more breath here. Inhale, gaze to the hands. Exhale, step forward. Hands and feet meet towards the top of the mat. Knees are still soft as you let the torso cascade over the legs into your forward fold. Inhale, palms into shins, extend the spine long, half fold. And then exhale, release it all, let tension out of the back of the neck. Pressing into the feet, inhale, lift up. Reach the arms to the ceiling, gaze follows, and then you exhale the hands down, coming into equal standing pose. So we're going to do 2 rounds of Surya Namaskar. Surya Namaskar meaning sun salutation. So if nature happens to be one of the places where you can find a sense of contentment, this would be honoring and showing your gratitude to the sun and the spaces in nature. So thinking of that as you move through. We're going to take an inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale to soften the knees, send the hips back as you forward fold. Inhale and half lift. Exhale, bring the hands to frame the left foot as you bring the right foot back behind you, coming into Ashwasanchalanasana, or this lower lunge pose, pressing the right heel back behind you. Then palms come to the ground. Inhale, you're going to bring that left foot back to meet the right, hips up into Ardha Mukha Shavasana, or downward dog. And then your next inhale draws you forward into Palakasana, plank pose. And then your exhale is going to be Ashtanga Namaskar, which is lowering the knees, and then chin and chest with the seat lifted. And then inhale to pull the torso up and through, either staying in a low cobra or extending the arms into Bhujangasana, high cobra, or pressing into the tops of the feet to float the legs into Urdhva Mukha Shavasana, upward facing dog. And then your exhale will be to lift the hips again, Ardha Mukha Shavasana. Inhale the gaze towards the hands. You're going to step the right foot forward, coming back into your Ashwasanchalanasana. Low lunge on this side. Inhale, step the left foot forward all the way to the top of the mat to exhale into Uttanasana, forward fold. Press into the feet. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hands down, equal standing pose. So we'll do that one more time, leading with the left leg this time. Before we start, if it's comfortable for you, close the eyes. Notice the sensations between the right side and the left. And then inhale, blink the eyes open, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold, seat goes back. Inhale, half lift, extend. Exhale the hands down. Step the left foot back, low lunge, Ashwasanchalanasana. Hands plant. And step the right foot back. Exhale, Ardha Mukha Shavasana. Inhale forward into plank, Palakasana. Exhale into your Ashtanga Namaskar, knees, chest, chin. Inhale into your version of a back extension, whatever feels best for you at this time. You have your Bhujangasana variations or your Urdhva Mukha, upward facing dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. And then inhale, gaze to the hands, step the left foot forward. Exhale here. And then inhale, step the right foot forward. Exhale into your forward fold, Uttanasana, excuse me. Press into the feet, inhale, lift up, reach the arms. Exhale, hands to heart center. Again, closing the eyes if you'd like. Feeling the ground with both feet. Coming back to that three-part breath and or coming back to finding that space of contentment. Blinking the eyes open. Exhale to release the hands. Inhale, we're going to reach up. Exhale, bring the hands together behind you. Interlace the fingers and then pull the knuckles down towards the back of the thighs, lifting the sternum as you pull the shoulder blades together behind you. Soften at the knees, hinge at the hips. Exhale, lift, lowering down into your forward fold as you lift the arms up towards the sky. Taking one more breath here. We're going to exhale, release the hands. You're going to bring both hands inside the right foot as you slide the left foot back behind you and then land that foot so that it's out at an angle. The toes are slightly angled out at about 30 degrees and the heel is down, the outer sole is down, and both hands are inside that right leg. Now from here, you can have the hands on the ground, or if it's better, you can have one or two blocks underneath that hand. If it's available to you, another option may be to bring the hands back behind that tailbone, interlace the fingers, and lift them up, coming into Humble Warrior. That's another variation that could be a possibility. And then I'll just offer one more, and you choose whichever one is working best for you. The last one is cross lunge, reaching the right hand from behind and outside the right calf. This is a lot of core strength, so we're just going to hold whichever variation you've chosen for 2 more breaths. And then our transition, you can either drop the hands to the floor or the leg and use them for support, or you can inhale using the core strength and the strength of your front thigh to lift yourself up, your choice. Stepping that back foot in, about a full step, letting the outer arch be parallel to the back edge of the mat. Front toes pointed to me. Inhale, reach the arms up. Grab the right wrist with the left hand. Exhale, side bend to the left into sky archer. Gaze up underneath that front right arm, opening up the chest. And then inhale and lift. Exhale, left hand comes around behind the low back. Take an inhale, lift up into that right arm, and then your exhale, you're going to bend into the front knee, coming into reverse warrior. Side bend again over that back leg, and gaze can either come down towards your back heel, or maybe you want your eyes up towards the top hand. As much bend in that front knee as is appropriate for you. One more breath. On your exhale, release that top arm. Grabbing your block, putting it into the right hand. You're going to reach that right arm out in front of you as you extend that right leg long, and then start to toe heel the back foot forward until you feel like you have enough leverage where you can kind of push off it a little bit. On an inhale, starting to teeter-totter, dropping the block down to the floor. Now your back foot, you might want to keep it kickstand down on the ground. Or you can start to lift and open that left leg till maybe the foot is about even with the left hip. Now your left hand can stay where it is behind you, or you can reach it up to the sky, or you can reach that left hand for the front of the left ankle. Press the ankle into the hand, hand into the ankle. Again, really opening up that chest, giving space for the heart to shine in gratitude. Variation of Ardha Chandrasana, half moon pose. If you don't want the block, you can bring the hand to the floor or float the hand. One more breath. Exhale. Drop that left foot to meet the right at the top of the mat. Knees are bent. Drop the seat. And then lift the chest, hands at heart center. Tailbone is heavy and weighted. Making sure you can see the toes be on the fronts of the knees. Pulling the bottom front ribs to the top of the pelvis to help encourage that core strength. Take one more breath here. Exhale, release that right hand back behind you. Left hand out in front of you. Take a small twist in your chair pose, Utkatasana. Bring all the weight into the left foot. Drop that right heel. And then start to slide the right heel back behind you. Pivot open, coming to face the long edge of the mat. The feet are going to be about parallel to the short edges of the mat. And then from there, you're going to take an inhale. And you're going to hands on the waist, exhale, forward fold. You can keep a soft bend in the knees as much as you need to. And then as you hinge forward, you're going to pause when your body asks you to pause. That may be your inner thighs. It might be your low back. Eventually, whatever it is available to you, it might be hands on the block, hands on the floor, or keeping the hands on the knees. Hold and breathe, letting tension out of the back of the neck. You're welcome to stay right here, enjoying the forward fold and letting the breath, that lengthened three-part breath flow. If you'd like to bring a little bit more of a twist into it to help open up the shoulders and create more space around the heart, start to walk the left hand towards the right foot or ankle. Maybe it stays on the mat. Maybe you actually grasp the right ankle. And then the right hand can come to the hip, reach up to the sky, or hand to the low back. Hold and breathe in the twist. And then exhale, release everything back to center. Your back foot stays parallel to the back edge of the mat. You're going to start to yogi walk towards the top edge of your mat and pivot the left toes to point to the top of the mat. Left elbow on the left knee. And then, again, focusing on that heart, opening it up, letting the space for gratitude and contentment to really penetrate that whole center of the heart. Your right hand can stay on the right hip. You can reach the right hand up and over the right ear. Or I like to bring that right hand either around to the low back or sometimes into a half bind, bringing the hand to the left thigh if that's feeling right in my shoulder that day. It really helps to increase the space of that shoulder opening up. One more breath here. Exhale, release both hands inside the left foot. This time your right knee is going to drop down and back. And then when you have your space, again, recognize if it's going to be more available for you to create space if you have the block under the hands, or option to lower down to the elbows. Last option would be to float that back knee off the ground. Hold and breathe. Exhale, back knee down. If it's off, inhale, bringing that torso up and back and lengthening out the front leg. Encouraging that right hip to come more forward as the left hip is encouraged to go a little bit more back. So generally our pelvis is going to kind of start to tilt out towards the right side. We're wanting to keep that pelvis oriented more towards the top of the mat without forcing, but just encouraging. Taking a lengthened inhale, letting that 3-part breath flow in, and then exhale if you like, rounding the spine. Inhale, lift the head, plant that front foot. You're going to bring your weight into the front foot. Big step forward with the back foot all the way to the top of the mat. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hands to the hips. We're going to go through about 3 or 4 variations for Vrikshasana, tree pose. First one is going to be kickstand. The heel against the ankle. Toes are on the ground. Next one will be bringing that bottom of the right foot to the inside of the left calf, or maybe foot to the inner thigh. Or adding on a different variation this time, if you'd like, I'm going to do Ardha Padmasana Vrikshasana. So bringing that knee all the way up towards the right shoulder, getting a little bit more space so that there's a little bit more opportunity to bring the right heel up over towards either the left hip crease or maybe even up towards the left hip point. Then drop that right knee down towards the ground. Left hand can help the right foot where it is, if that works for you. And then if you would like, you can swing that right arm around behind you and maybe grab the left elbow. So any of those variations for tree pose, this half lotus balancing pose variation, or standing tree pose with the foot against the right foot against the left leg. Finding your breath again as you keep that breath flowing, lengthened in and out all the way from the belly to the collarbones. It helps to keep your center of gravity a little bit lower, which helps your balance. And then your exhale, releasing that right foot wherever you are to stand at the top of the foot. Notice the body. Notice the mind. Notice the breath. Notice the energy. If the eyes are closed, blink them open. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bring the hands in front of you, interlace the fingers together, and then flip the palms. Pressing the palms away in front of you, pressing the upper back to the wall behind you, tucking the tailbone, tucking the chin. Take an inhale here. Exhale, bend the knees, hinge from the hips, lower the hands to the ground or to the block. Now, if you have a block in front of you or any type of prop that you can really press those palms into, you can again start to bring some rounding to the shoulders and upper back, opening up the space that surrounds the back of the heart. Taking one more breath here. This time, both hands come inside the left foot. You're going to slide that right foot all the way to the back. The toes are going to land at a 30-degree angle with the heel down, outer arch down. And then you have all the same variations on this side. So it might be hands stay where they are on the floor or on the block, or hands come to the tailbone, interlace the fingers, lift the knuckles towards the ceiling with the left shoulder inside the left leg. Another variation might be to come into that cross lunge. Whichever position you choose, will hold for 2 more breaths. Feel the breath moving in, expanding the belly, the chest, and the collarbones, and then exhale out. Your same options to lift up. You might want to use the hands on the floor or on the leg, or you might want to use all core strength and front thigh to lift yourself up, extending that front leg long. Toes pointed to the top of the mat, and then your right foot parallel to the back edge of the mat. Inhale, reach the arms up. Grasp left wrist with right hand, reach up, and exhale over into Sky Archer. Inhale and lift. Exhale, right hand circles down around to the low back. Take an inhale, lift up from that left shoulder, and exhale, bending into the left knee. Reverse warrior, gaze again, you come down or lift up, depending on whichever is better for your neck. And as much bend in that front knee in order to feel like you are creating a little bit more strength in the legs, challenging them a little bit without reducing your energy flow. And then inhale, lift up. I'm going to grab that block in the left hand and then start to toe heel that right foot in a little bit until you feel like you have enough leverage so you can kind of kick off of it. We're going to come into that Ardha Chandrasana again. So all those variations, maybe you stay kickstand, maybe you lift that right heel up towards the hip. If you took the bind on the other side and it's appropriate on this side, you can take the right ankle in the right hand and then open the right shoulder up towards the long edge of the mat. One more breath here. Exhale, release the foot. It lands at the top of the mat, knees are bent, tailbone is weighted, Utkatasana, chair pose with Anjali Mudra. Feel the heart. Open up to whatever it is that you can find right now to be grateful for and or feel some contentment. Sometimes in chair pose, that's a little difficult. And then exhale, left head comes back, right arm reaches in front, gaze at the left thumb. All the weight into the right foot, lift the left heel, slide the toes back, open up to the long edge of the mat, hands to the hips. Inhale, lift the sternum. Exhale, hinge from the hips. Hands can stay on the hips, on the thighs, on a block, or come to the floor. And just release tension out of the spine. If your low back, your knees, your groins, anything is asking for it, Bring some softness into the knees. The legs don't have to be completely straight, and in fact, the knees really are better if they're not locked out. But any amount of bend in the knees is always fine if that makes it more appropriate for you. Coming into that twist, if you would choose to do it on this side, you're going to take the right hand, start to walk it over towards the left foot. Maybe it reaches the mat, maybe it comes to the foot or the ankle. And then the left hand, maybe to the hip, maybe reaching up to the sky, or back of the palm at the low back. Exhale to release. We'll all meet back in the middle. If you're still there, we'll meet you there. Your back foot stays parallel to the short edge of the mat. Your front foot points at knee, starting to bend into that front knee. Bring the right elbow to the right thigh, opening up the chest towards the long edge of the mat with the left hand either on the hip, up towards the ceiling, reaching up and over the ear, or perhaps coming into the half bind. Extended side angle, and breathe here. One more breath. Exhale, unwind it all. Bring both hands inside that right foot. Might need to toe heel the right foot over towards the right edge of the mat. Maybe even it might be better or more appropriate for you to turn those right toes off the mat and really let that right knee open up. Either variation is fine. Hands can be on the floor, on the blocks. You can drop the elbows to the ground if you'd like. You can drop the back knee down if you'd like. All of these being different variations of Asta. Let's see. Ashta, Chandrasana. Still learning some of these. Learning some of the Sanskrit names, but knowing also that depending on the lineage, some of the names vary for these poses. Inhale. Hands come back if they're not already there. If your knee is floating, drop the back knee down and start to shift the hips back in space, lengthening the front leg, coming into Ardha Hanumanasana. So this half splits pose. And again, same as before, you're going to try to encourage the pelvis to orient parallel to the top edge of the mat. Feeling the length along the hamstring of the front leg, and eventually, if it's appropriate for you, you can exhale, let the forehead come down towards the front leg. Inhale and lift. Slide that back foot, slide that front foot down so you can land it back on the mat. Lift the back knee, and then just take some hops or a big full step, landing it at the top of the mat, and then inhale, ragdoll to lift yourself all the way up, and then coming into your version of Vrikshasana on this side, tree pose. Kickstand, calf, inner thigh, or if you would like to give that half lotus variation a try, you're going to pull the left knee up towards the left shoulder, create a little bit more space there so you can bring that left heel across, either up towards the top of the hip or at the hip crease. Right hand can help support that foot as you encourage the left knee down. And then if you'd like to take the half bind, the left hand comes around to the elbow. If this variation, Ardha Hanumanasana, Vrikshasana, is not appropriate for you or does not feel comfortable, you're going to take one of the other tree pose variations. Your drishti, your gaze with your eyes, is also a really great access point for balance. Finding something to rest your eyes on that is not moving, help to settle your mind, which increases the access for balance in the physical body. One more breath. Exhale, release. Just stand. Close the eyes. Notice what you notice physically, mentally, breath, or your prana, your energy, your life force. Inhale, blink the eyes open, reach the arms up. Exhale, hinge from the hips, knees are soft. Land the hands down so that you can step 1 foot at a time to come to your knees. We're going to go into a variation of camel. So if standing on your knees is not a good fit for you for any reason, your choices might be to create more cushion under the knees, so maybe double up the mat a few times, or instead, come all the way to your seat, and you can come into a back extension from here. Perhaps that means lifting up and out of the chest and just pulling the shoulder blades together behind you. Maybe that means dropping the elbows and doing similar. Or we'll just do one shorter version and variation of camel. So inhaling, reaching the arms up. Lift and exhale, bring the hands around, palms at the top of the pelvis with the fingertips going into your back pants pockets. Encourage that pelvis forward as you lift up and out of the waist, lifting the sternum towards the ceiling. Your palms can stay where they are, or you can reach them down to the backs of the thighs. Pull the shoulder blades together behind you. And breathe in your extension. Inhale. And then your exhale draws everything back up. Hands come to that back waist again if that feels good for you. And then eventually, palms down on the ground. Take an inhale. Exhale, round up into angry cat. Inhale, back into tabletop. You're going to bring your left knee right to the center. Lift up the right knee, cross it behind the left, and then encourage the toes out to the edges of the mat. You're going to go into Gomukhasan. This might mean that for you, the best fit is just to hang out right here. If you're feeling plenty enough sensation in the outer hips and thighs, totally fine to hang out right here. Another variation might be to start to rock yourself back, landing the sits bones in between the heels with the knees stacked over one another. This is a pretty intense hip opener with a lot of flexion on the knees, so it's not a good fit for everyone. If that's the case for you, but you feel like there's accessibility to lengthen one leg and have the other leg bent, that's a third variation. So between those three, choose whichever one is a fit for you. If you are in either of the seated poses and you would like to add the arm extension, you're going to inhale, lift up. Exhale, you're going to bend the right elbow, lift that elbow up towards the ceiling, and then circle the left hand back around behind. Maybe the fingertips touch and you take a little bit of a bind, opening up again around the shoulders and the chest. You can stay where you are. Okay. Inhale to prepare. And exhale, if you're in either of the seated positions, maybe you start to hinge forward, either with the bind or releasing the bind and bringing the hands to the ground. Just take another 2 to 3 cycles of breath at your pace. Inhale and lift. It's the bind. Now, depending on which variation you're in, you are welcome to just simply switch legs. Or if you would like to take a little bit of playtime with this, you're going to inhale, lift yourself up, and then from any of those 3 variations, you're going to land right back here where we started from with the right leg crossed behind the left. And then tuck the toes into the mat. Inhale, engage your core, float both knees off the mat, and then we're going to start to walk around, bringing the hands first to the right side, walking all the way around as you pivot on the balls of the feet to the back, and then over to the left, all the way back to center. Land the knees down, and notice that now you have the right knee in front of the left. Same 3 variations or other variations that work better for you to go into Gomukhasana from here. So that might be hang out here, might be coming into your elbows, might be coming back to seated. If you're coming into seated, maybe that means both knees bent, heels at the hips with the toes pointing out, or it could mean the left leg is extended long with just the right knee bent on top. Welcome to hang out here, or inhale, lift the arms. Exhale, this time the left elbow is going to bend, bringing the left fingertips towards the middle of the shoulder blades. Stay there if you like, or swing the right arm down and around behind you, and then again, perhaps the fingers touch and you get into a bind, or you just keep the hands wherever they land at the back. Inhale and extend up. Stay where you are, or exhale. You can hinge forward either with the arm bind or without. Hands can come down onto the ground if you prefer. One more cycle of breath. You still have the hands at the back. You're going to release them. Inhale, lift yourself up. Exhale, unwind the legs in front of you. If you are on your knees, you're going to make your way to your seat in any way that makes sense for you. And then this is now where we're going to grab that rolled up prop, the extra mat, bolster, blanket or towel, whatever you have. Going to put it the long way on your mat so that the base of it lands right at your sacrum. And then bottoms of the feet together. Knees are open. Take an inhale. Hands come back behind you and you start to lift the sternum up. As you exhale, little by little, walk the hands back so the elbows land. The spine is supported by your prop. And then the head lands next on the prop. Arms open, knees open. Supta Baddha Konasana. Or make your way onto your back in any way that makes sense to you if rolling down one vertebrae at a time is not appropriate. And then back to your breath. Or back to your anchor. Thinking of that space of contentment. Finding gratitude in the physical, mental, and emotional sensations and aspects of gratitude that you bring into your body, mind, energy. Knowing that even when there are challenging times, even when you just put yourself through some positions that might have challenged your mental state, might have challenged your physical state, coming back to that sensation of that there is still a place, there's still opportunity to know that this too shall pass and find a little peace and contentment and gratitude and when it's challenging. Practicing that little by little on your mat so that when you go into the rest of your day, have that memory, that muscle built up of being able to be non-reactive and find contentment in challenges. going to segue right into the final rest, final Shavasana. If you would like to take your final rest minutes in this position, you're welcome to. It's better for you to release slowly, carefully, one leg at a time, in it, but still keep the back supported and the chest open. That's an option. Or if you would like to remove the prop from the back all the way down onto the floor and feel the entire back side of the body supported by the ground, that would be another option. If lying on your back is not an appropriate fit for you, for whatever reason, for your final rest, coming to your side on the ground or your belly, or coming to any seated position on the ground or in a chair. Whatever it takes for you to find that space of the body feeling released and content. And let the natural organic breath flow. Is the mind starting to wander? It's perfectly natural. It's how it's designed. Just bring it back gently, urging it to stay focused on one single point. That's your breath on each exhale, just releasing a little bit more tension out of pockets from the body, jaw, tongue, maybe the shoulders, neck, feet, and continue to allow the body and mind to just rest. Welcome to stay in Shavasana or final rest for as long as you choose. If you are ready to move on, start to lengthen and deepen the breath, maybe even inhaling deeply with the nose, letting that flow into an open mouth sigh. Small movements in the fingers and toes. letting that shift the shoulders or turn the neck side to side. Any type of feels good. Reawaken the body. Long full body stretch, saying good morning again to yourself. Lengthen from fingertip to toe tip would feel good. Go ahead. If you are on the floor, on your back side or belly, eventually making your way up to seated in any way that makes sense to you. Rolling over to one side and resting there for a moment. Right or the left, whichever is calling to you. Eventually pressing yourself up, using your hands to come to a seat. Bringing the backs of the hands to the backs of the legs, touching the tip of the forefinger, index finger to the tip of the thumb, extending the other 3 fingers on each hand long, holding the mudra, perhaps even noticing and feeling the sensation of some energy exchange between the tips of the fingers on each hand. Perhaps also coming back to that sensation of what it feels like to be content. And if that is your situation, then send some gratitude. Feeling of thankfulness for that opportunity. Take a collective moment of gratitude to send to the ancients in India and Southeast Asia, developed this practice of yoga that we benefited from today, and that they were willing to share it across the globe. Take a lengthened inhale. Exhale to lower the chin towards the chest. Om Shanti, peace. Thank you so much. Glad you were here.